Hi, I wanted to record a video to walk you through how to make note cards for your speech, because for some people this is something that you've done probably in your past. I mean, you've done previous speeches, and for some people this is something totally foreign, so I wanted to make sure that I walk you guys through it. First off, if you've made an outline before for like an essay, that's basically the structure we're going to use, is that type of a format. So I'm going to walk you through what it looks like. So here's a basic note card, a 3x5 card right here. Whoa, bouncing all around right before you. So on a basic level, each card, you want to have just one piece of information, just one thing you're going to talk about. So for example, this card would be my introduction card. So first off, I always number my cards. I usually put it up in this corner up here. So I put like a number 1, circle around it maybe, just so you know, because you're going to lose these cards. You're going to drop them. They're going to get out of order. I've done that. I used to do speech for competition when I was in college, and I had dropped my stack of cards plenty of times. So it's good to have them numbered. It's also good to only use one side of each card, just to have a habit. So that way you don't get them all turned around, they don't get jumbled, you don't have a mess. So have enough cards that you can use one card per idea, and that you can just use one side of each card. So I got my number. That's just how I'm going to do it. Maybe you have a different system. And then over here, I put whatever this card's going to be. So this is my first card for the speech. So since this is my co-cultural speech, and I'm going to be talking about, for my example, I'm going to use the same thing that I use in my example, that I play for the ECSA Emerald City Softball League, softball. I play in the Gay Softball League for Seattle. So my first point would be like, what is my co-culture? So ECSA softball. So you might think like, of course I'm going to remember that, right? But it's good to have these things down. Sometimes we stand up in front of people and we just need that cue. That's why these are called cue cards. I'm not writing down all the information I need to know. I'm writing down something that's going to cue my mind and tell me, hey, now it's time to talk about this. So I say ECSA softball, and maybe I say the name of my team. We are the Cupcakes. Just matters that I need to be able to read it, right? Maybe I put bullet points in the front of this, if that's what helps me remember it. I could put A and B. I could put number 1, number 2. You could use colors, if that helps you. Whatever it works for you. But this is my first card. Now I'm imagining when I see this card, and I'm giving my speech, this would be the beginning. And I would say, hey, I'm here to tell you today that about my co-culture. It's ECSA softball. I play for the Emerald City Softball Association. If I'm worried that I'm going to forget what ECSA stands for, I should definitely spell it out. Maybe I'd want to spell it out right here, right? Emerald City Softball Association. Maybe I want to spell that out just so that I will remember for sure, right? And maybe I want to fix my C so I don't think that's an L later. But don't put too much information. Leave a lot of white space. Your brain likes it. Your brain wants to know exactly where to look on the card. So that's my first card. Cool. So that's my introduction. I'm going to talk to you today about being part of the Emerald City Softball Association, and my team was called the Cupcakes. So remember, I have to talk about 4 interesting aspects. So what are those going to be? What are we going to talk about for my team? Well, I could talk about how in the world you even join and become a part of the Emerald City Softball Association. For 1, just in case anybody who's listening might want to join. And for 2, because it's kind of interesting. If you don't know anything about it, it's interesting. So I'll put a number 2 up here. And I'm going to say, I'll give this card the title Membership, to remind myself that that's what I'm going to talk about in here. And so then I would want to know, okay, what am I actually going to tell everybody about membership? So because I've already done my research and I've already planned out my speech, so you're making your cue cards at the end, right? I'm showing you how to make them once you've already planned out your speech. So I've got my idea for what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about membership. So things like, I'm going to want to say that I tried out, paid dues. People might not even know what dues are, so I need to explain that, right? Tried out, paid dues, uniform, practice. You probably are curious what practice is like, how serious it is, that kind of a thing, right? And then I could even talk about, spouses. I even spelled that wrong, but does it matter? Is anybody else going to see this card except me? No. I'm not going to see your cards. This is for you. So I spelled spouses wrong, but as long as I can spell it and can read it later, which I'm worried I won't be able to, so I'm going to fix that. Spouses. Spouses and friends. So do you know what I'm going to talk about at that point? Spouses and friends? You don't, but I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the spouses of our teammates and friends and how they can come watch games and how that all kind of ties into the idea of belonging, right? Membership, how we all feel like we're part of the team. So, and maybe I'll talk, yeah, that's my second one. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about is membership. So then my next card, lay it down in here. Let's add a number 3 up here. Another interesting thing I want to talk about is symbols and language, because I think that's interesting for you guys. So I'll do that up here, symbols and language. That's a G. Symbols and language. And then I know, well, what am I going to talk about? Well, I'm going to talk about our mascot. So that would be a good time for me to show you the mascot, the little Care Bear cupcake mascot. I would want to talk about gay slang, which I think most people would find that interesting, right? So as you're describing your co-culture, you want to be thinking about what will the audience find interesting. So that's part of your audience analysis. We talked about that with the last speech. So you want to be analyzing the audience and going, what would everybody enjoy learning more about? And everybody loves learning about gay slang. It's popular right now. So I'd want to tell you about that and how that ties in with softball. Because we use a lot of the same words that normal softball teams use. We also don't. And then there's other things like the way we use the term girl is pretty specific. So symbols and language, mascot, gay slang, the way we use the term girl, anything else I could think of, softball slang. Oh man, I hit that thing again. Sorry, folks. Softball slang. Maybe I'd want to talk about that. Softball terms and slang. All right, so I got 2 down, just need 2 more. So that's symbols and language. My next one, I think, is going to be activities and ceremonies, because you're probably going to want to know what we do as a team. So I put a number 4 up here. So I'll just say activities. I'm not going to leave out ceremonies. We do have them, because there's like award ceremonies, but I don't think you need to worry about that. So let's do activities. So there's the activities. We have fundraisers. Those are fun to talk about. Those are they're interesting. I could talk about, games we actually play, because I haven't even mentioned that really. Talk about games. Could talk about how there is an actual World Series. As crazy as that might sound. All of that stuff would be very interesting, right? And then I'd talk about going to the bars, because a lot of the reason that people play softball is to have drinking buddies. So I would want to definitely tell you guys about that. And then, oh no, I've used up all my 3x5 cards, so I got to open up a new pack. So don't be shy with yours. There's no such thing as wasting these, right? They're paper, so it's a renewable resource. Use as many as you need. Don't get stingy. Don't try and use them on both sides. I have done that in the past when I've tried to save money when I was a poor college student myself. And you end up kind of causing a lot of problems for yourself when you have to turn them around and stuff. So what number was that one? 4. So now we have 5. And my number 5 card, I got to do one more interesting thing. So I probably want to tell a good story. It's always good to tell a story, right? So my story, I'm just going to title it Story. So when I see this card, I know that's what I'm about to do. And I'm going to tell you guys a story about the time that I met Seattle Mayor. What was his name? Ed Murray at Diesel, which is a bar. So I was selling Jello shots to raise money for my team, and I met the mayor in 2016, because I'm going to forget when the year was. 2016. So I could definitely tell that story. It's a funny story. There's a whole lot to it, and that would be a fun story. So that's 4 interesting aspects that I've shared. And then my note cards are basically complete. The only other things I would want to add are 2 more note cards that I can picture. One for a hook, one for a sinker. So those are like a sinker would be a good story to wrap it all up with. Maybe this story about meeting Ed Murray is a good sinker story. If it is, then I need to come up with another interesting aspect to share with you guys, right? So if that's going to be the case, maybe I would add another one in here and talk about like values and norms, like values. Is it competition? The fact that we were really just playing for fun. Maybe I would talk about the history of gay softball. Maybe I would talk about the history of softball itself. Maybe I'd talk about how softball even came about as a branch of baseball. I don't even know about that. That's part of the research I could do, right? And then my last card would end up going in the very beginning before number 1, and that would be my hook. So a hook would be some type of an attention getter that I'd want to use at the beginning. So a quote or a statistic or something that I would, and because I've already used number 1, because my cards already have a number 1, I can always use number 0 for that card. So that's what I would do, and that would be my hook. So I wouldn't just write hook and leave it blank, but I would write hook and write out what my hook is. So for this one, I would look up some type of a good quote about softball, or maybe I would ask some teammates for a quote, like, hey, what's the funniest thing that you've ever heard somebody say on a softball field? And then just see what they say. And maybe one of them will have a really funny quote. Or maybe I'd look for, quotes online, for inspirational quotes about softball online. Maybe that would be my hook. Or a statistic. How many people actually play in this league? Because it's actually rather huge. We have a lot of teams. So maybe that would be the hook. Hey, did you know that thousands of people play in the Emerald City Softball League? Maybe that would be it. So that would be my cards. And then they're all ready to go. That's what you need to do for yours. As far as what they're going to look like, that's up to you. So you get to pick. It's for you. So you could use colors in there. You could use stickers. You could make it yours. The whole point is to have them ready to go for practice. And then practice your speech with your cards so that when you look at them and you see the cue, that cues your mind to talk about that next thing. And then when you're done with it, you go to the next card. And that cues your brain to go to the next subject. Cue cards. That's what they're for. So as you practice, this will get more natural. And then the last trick is, this is a secret that I already told you somewhere if you've read my stuff, but if you read through your cards right before you go to bed at night, you'll remember stuff better. You'll remember your speeches better. It's an acting trick, and it's a good speech trick. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions about any of this. I'm here to help.